Okay.
All right. Anytime you're ready.
Cool.
Be live.
Let's go. What's going on, you guys? Heath with SakeBomb Garage here. Want to introduce a new product that we've had in the works for a long time. Really excited about it. It is called the Smart Cooler. This is an oil cooler system for the Mazda RX-7 initially, but will be applicable for other applications coming in the future or as a universal product. So the Smart Cooler is an onboard thermostat that bolts onto any Setrab or Kraken core, anything with a female M22 port at the top. As many of you know, SakeBomb Garage has been selling oil cooler kits for the RX-7 for nearly 15 years now. We still sell our competition oil cooler kit, but the Smart Cooler works a little bit differently in the sense that it's got an onboard thermostat. So our original oil cooler kit for the RX-7, we have an H-pattern thermostat. It is a single thermostat, and this does all the work. This fed both oil cooler cores at the same time. So as this would open, we'd get a large rush of cold oil. The thermostat would close, and we'd have these larger fluctuations in temperature. Being able to run each oil cooler on an independent thermostat allows the first cooler to have the chance of doing enough work to keep the oil cool. It's then passed to the next cooler, which can then either bypass or send the oil through that core if the first oil cooler did not get enough heat out of the system. So it makes it a very versatile system, and we get actually less temperature fluctuation through the operation of the two independent thermostats versus one large single thermostat. With the new Smart Cooler kit, we're able to put an individual thermostat on each core, just like the factory, and there are some great benefits to doing this. Stabilizes temperature. We don't have these big swings between hot and cold. Also allows a more compact build. The thermostat's not floating around the engine bay. It's actually on the core where it needs to be. The Smart Cooler allows us to reduce the number of fittings and connections, and we've also engineered a way to connect to your factory hardline. So we've got adapters for the factory hardlines that will allow it to feed to a single or dual oil cooler setup. If you originally came with a single, you can add a dual, or you can run just a large single. So a lot of different options. If you've got an existing SakeBomb oil cooler kit, we will sell an upgrade separately that you can add the Smart Cooler to your existing setup with your existing oil coolers. So the factory oil cooler lines are actually not a problem. We simply replaced them because we needed to in order to add our H-pattern thermostat from our original oil cooler system in. But there's actually nothing wrong with the factory hardlines. So the inner diameter is actually the same as our inner diameter of our soft lines. So by removing the factory hardlines, it adds a lot of complexity, a lot of install time, but the big benefit is actually in the high efficiency core itself. So whether you run a Setrab or a Kraken core, the benefit is adding the extra cooling and the extra thickness and rows that you get from an aftermarket oil cooler. So the cool thing about the Smart Cooler is that it is retrofittable onto any size core. So right here we've got a 25-row core. This is the Setrab core. It's a bit higher efficiency. It's a little bit lighter. It also will fit a 19-row Setrab, or actually 15-row, 35-row. It doesn't matter. Whatever size core will fit. It will also fit the Kraken core. So we've got the same fittings at the top. This is an M22 female fitting at the top of the core, and for a more budget-oriented setup, you can run a more affordable oil cooler core. So you've got your choice of a number of aftermarket cores that this will bolt to, and that's one of the big advantages for the Smart Cooler system. It gives a lot of flexibility for building an oil cooler system. Obviously, we'll have this available for universal systems if you want to build this for another application, custom application, but we'll also have a full bolt-on solution for the RX-7. So here's some of our new oil cooler brackets. These come for the 25-row. If you got a 19-row, we have a different set of brackets. So we're actually a big believer in OEM Plus. The factory does a lot of things right. Having individual thermostats on each cooler was actually a huge benefit, and Mazda did this for a specific reason. So being able to just swap in a higher efficiency core is a big benefit here, and it reduces the install time. As many of you guys know who've already installed the SakeBomb competition oil cooler system, removing all the factory hard lines, routing all the soft lines is actually not a small task. So we wanted to have a solution that was more plug and play and was able to be installed faster and more seamlessly than a full retrofit of a softline system with an external thermostat. Now I'll walk you through some of the details of the smart cooler. So on the main body, we've actually got a thermostat that's integrated into the main body of the smart cooler. We've got two M22 ports at the top. So as we mentioned, that's going to bolt on the top of any set trap or Kraken core. We've got O-rings internal to allow you to swivel and get the angle just right as you're getting them installed in the cores. That can be a little bit tricky. Every core is slightly different. Just the placement would be off by 1/4 millimeter, so you definitely want to be able to move this in and out and pivot slightly. We've got two metric port adapters on the back. So if you're doing a custom application, you can grab some AN port adapters, or for the RX-7, we've got this fitted with two 90-degree swivel fittings here. So this will come pre-built for the kit, but if you're building your own oil cooler system or something around the smart cooler, you can just grab this and a couple AN fittings, and then you can run your lines from there. So another issue that we ran into that we needed to solve was the factory hardline. So we created AN adapters to the factory hardline. So this will be a part that's also available separately. This is the female side and the male side, and these replicate the stock male and female connectors for the factory hardline. So as you can see here, we've got the male. There's a factory hardline female that comes off of the front cover, clicks right in, and now you can take an AN line directly off of that. We've got this for the other side as well. So you can expand the factory system using these fittings that we've created, and you can build out a full system. So we've got 4 different iterations. Right now, you can just add the smart cooler onto a single cooler setup. So if your RX-7 came with a single factory cooler, you can just add the 25-row or 19-row oil cooler to it with the onboard thermostat. You don't have to change anything, it just bolts up. If you had an R1 that came with 2 oil coolers, you can get a left and a right. So cool thing is this is actually reversible, and we can set this up as a left and a right. If your car came with a single oil cooler and you want to add or upgrade to a dual oil cooler system, we've got soft lines. That's where these fittings come in, and we can add a second oil cooler with soft lines to your single oil cooler system. The 4th iteration is if you've already got a existing SakeBomb garage oil cooler, we've got an upgrade kit, retrofit them with a smart cooler system. So we'll have an upgrade kit coming as well. So we'll also be offering the smart coolers as an independent item. So if you don't have an RX-7 or you're putting some custom oil cooler setup together, you'll be able to purchase just the smart cooler or cores or bits and pieces, whatever you need to build your own system around. So obviously every car needs different oil cooling setup. The only thing that you'll need is a takeoff plate to get oil from and to the motor. So we've got products in the works for the ND Miata, RX-8, NC, and quite a few other applications as well. LS cars where you've got tight clearance between the header, adding a thermostatic takeoff plate for an oil cooler is very tight, and you get very close to the hot headers. With the smart cooler setup, you can just use a very thin takeoff plate off of your LS block and feed that directly to the cooler. So you've only got 2 lines and a very thin takeoff plate. That is the most space efficient and compact way to do thermostatic oil cooling on an LS block. So while we'll also have the smart cooler available independently, we'll also have the adapter pieces that we made for the RX-7 available separately. So if you're trying to do some unique application, or if you just want to interface with the factory hardlines, you can get just the interface pieces if you want to build your own system around them. So we're trying to make it as modular as possible, so this will really fit any application. In the next few months, we'll be launching other applications. So take a look at all of our websites, SakeBomb Garage for RX-7s, RX-8s, and other applications, MiataSpeed.com for the NA, NB, NC, and ND generations, And head on over to our sister website, krakenperformance.com, for C5 through C8 Corvettes, as well as universal products using the Smart Cooler.